You've replayed that conversation, haven't you? All night, probably. You meticulously laid out every fact, every raw feeling, every brilliant comeback you could muster. You poured your heart and mind into it, convinced that this time, your words would finally cut through. Yet, somehow, you still walked away feeling smaller. Diminished. Like you'd given away a piece of yourself and received nothing but frustration in return. It's a familiar, gnawing ache, isn't it? That sensation of battling with words, only to realize they're often the very things that disarm us. But what if the real victory, the profound, undeniable win, isn't found in louder words, or more words, or even the right words? What if it's found in no words at all? It sounds counterintuitive, almost absurd, in a world that constantly demands we speak up, articulate, and express ourselves. We're taught from childhood that communication is key, that silence is awkward, even rude. Yet, what if that very teaching is a leash, holding us back from a deeper, more potent form of power? We treat discussions like boxing matches, thinking victory lies in landing the most verbal punches. But the true battles, the ones that shape outcomes, aren't fought with rapid-fire retorts. They're fought in the quiet spaces between the words. In every interaction, an invisible scoreboard tracks who needs the other person more. The moment you over-explain or frantically fill the silence, you broadcast your need for approval, giving away your power piece by painful piece. Nietzsche called this the slave's reflex, the instinctive urge to react and defend. This impulse makes you predictable and manipulable, a pawn in someone else's game, simply because you can't tolerate the silence that would reveal your own strength. The truly strong do the opposite. They practice strategic withholding. This isn't shyness, it's a deliberate choice to let others grapple with the space you've created. Your silence becomes a mirror. In it, others see their own insecurities and their desperate need for you to speak. Suddenly, they are the ones chasing, revealing more, and seeking your approval because you've wordlessly demonstrated you don't need theirs. You've felt this. In a salary negotiation, a deliberate pause can make the offer jump before you say a word. When faced with an insult, your neutral silence makes the other person feel the full weight of their words and backtrack. These aren't accidents. They are glimpses of a power that doesn't roar, but simply is, a quiet, unwavering presence that forces the world to adjust to you, not the other way around. Talking feels powerful. You speak, they react, and your brain gets a hit of dopamine. It's a satisfying reward loop, but it's also a leash, tethering your worth to their validation. The more you talk, the more you leak. Every word is a data point revealing your limits, your desires, your insecurities. You're playing poker with your cards face up, giving away ammunition just for the cheap thrill of a quick response. Silence flips the script. It starves them of that reward, creating a vacuum psychologists call cognitive disequilibrium. The human brain despises an open loop, a question left unanswered. So, it scrambles to fill the void you've created, often by projecting power onto you. They assume you know something they don't, that you're considering a brilliant countermove, or that you're simply above the fray. All while you've revealed nothing and given away zero leverage. Nietzsche saw this as the will to power turned inward, not dominating others, but achieving absolute mastery over your own urge to react. In a world screaming for your opinion, the ability to simply not give it is a revolutionary act. You dominate your own internal landscape, forging an unshakable core that doesn't need external validation. That self-mastery is the truest form of power. This presence wins because it's unassailable. Words can be twisted, screenshotted, and used against you. But your calm, unreadable silence. It just is. It forces others to work harder, to audition for your response. When you hold the key to their validation, you control the entire dynamic. It's a quiet dominance that shifts the gravitational pull of the room toward you without ever saying a word. Alright, we know why silence is powerful. Now, let's get tactical. This isn't about being mute, it's about deploying silence with surgical precision. Think of these as your elite special forces in the quiet war. 1. The opening silence. Let tension do the work. Someone hits you with a demand, a tough question, an aggressive ask. Your reflex is to jump in and defuse the tension. Don't. Instead, use the first 10 seconds as sacred space. Let the silence hang heavy in the air, becoming an uncomfortable weight. Most people will crack under this pressure. Their brain, desperate to close the loop you've created, will start negotiating against itself. They'll soften their own demand, offering concessions you never asked for, all because you had the courage to let the silence do the work for you. 2. The precision silence, the pause that closes. This is about impact. Deliver one crystal clear statement, your price, your non-negotiable term, your requirement. And then, stop. Not a word more. Sales pros call this the pause that closes. You've handed them a decision, not a discussion. Forced to confront your statement without distraction, they'll reveal everything you need to know, their budget, their urgency, their walk-away point. They do the heavy lifting while you simply hold the line with your silence. 3. The reflective silence, the shield of composure. When insults fly, your brain screams, fight. Resist. Instead, take one deep, deliberate breath. This tiny pause is a superpower. It short-circuits your primal rage, allowing your face to reset to neutral. The attacker, expecting an emotional explosion, gets nothing. They are left hanging, their aggression diffused by your calm. To observers, you're not just calm, you are unshakable. You've won immense respect by refusing to play their game. 4. The exit silence, the weight of mystery. We're taught to end conversations by wrapping everything in a neat bow. Instead, try this: end the meeting, give a single, concise nod, and leave. No lingering, no small talk. Just a clean break. The human brain abhors a vacuum. It will obsess over the void you left, filling it with mystery and weight. People remember the person who left them wondering. This quiet exit ensures you are memorable and respected long after you've left the room. Here's the thing: accidental, awkward silence screams weakness. Intentional stillness, however, radiates power. This is how you build it. Start with a powerful training exercise, the 24-hour silence rule. For one full day, speak only when you are asked a direct question. This isn't about being rude, it's a bootcamp for your self-control. You will feel a physical urge to fill the void, that's Nietzsche's slave's reflex. Acknowledge it, but do not obey it. As you hold that space, you'll see others get nervous. They repeat themselves and reveal their anxieties, desperately trying to fill the quiet you command. You learn more from their discomfort than you ever did from their words. And when you finally do speak, your words land with immense gravity. People lean in, hanging on every syllable. But this power isn't just about what you don't say, it's how you hold your body. Your stillness must be paired with open, confident posture. Shoulders back, gaze steady. Closed-off silence, arms crossed, looking at the floor, is the silence of a victim. Open silence is the silence of a sovereign, utterly comfortable in their own power. It's the silence of a king on his throne, not a prisoner in the dock. To accelerate your mastery, keep a simple log. Each day, note one time you chose silence, how it felt, and what happened. Patterns will emerge, and your instincts will sharpen. Soon, you'll wield silence with the precision of a master. Common traps that turn silence into surrender. Okay, let's be brutally honest. Silence isn't a magic bullet. And if deployed incorrectly, or from the wrong internal state, it can backfire spectacularly. This isn't about being a mute, or a ghost. It's about being strategic. So, let's talk about the common traps, the pitfalls that can transform your powerful silence into something far less effective, or even detrimental. The first, and perhaps most common, trap is passive silence. This isn't power, it's avoidance. If your silence is accompanied by a downward gaze, a sigh, a shrinking posture, or a general air of discomfort, you're not signaling strength. You're signaling defeat, withdrawal, or an unwillingness to engage. You're essentially communicating, I don't know what to say, so I'm hoping this goes away. People will interpret this as weakness, as a lack of confidence, or even as disinterest. You look at your shoes, you mumble, you shift uncomfortably. This isn't the silence of presence, it's the silence of submission. And it will be treated as such. The second trap is what I call the creepy stare. There's a fine line between a steady, calm, observant gaze and an unblinking, frozen stare. The former is confident, the latter is unsettling in a negative way. If your silence is paired with an intense, unblinking, almost predatory gaze, people will sense a performance. They'll feel like you're trying too hard to be intimidating, or that you're just plain weird. And when people sense performance, trust drops. They become wary, guarded, and less likely to reveal anything genuine. Your goal is to be unreadable, not unnerving. Your gaze should be steady, open, and perhaps even a little curious, but never frozen or aggressive. The third trap, and this is a crucial one, is overuse in intimate relationships. Strategic silence is a powerful tool for power dynamics, for negotiation, for managing conflict with adversaries or colleagues. But your closest relationships, your partner, your children, your dearest friends, operate on a different currency. They need periodic reassurance through words, through shared vulnerability, through explicit expressions of care and understanding. Applying strategic silence constantly, using it as a default mode with those you love, will erode safety, trust, and intimacy. It can make you seem cold, distant, or uncaring. In these relationships, silence should be a space for deep listening and empathy, not a tactic for control. You need to know when to put the weapon down and simply connect. Balance is key here. And finally, the fourth trap, silence plus smirk. This is a deadly combination. If your silence is accompanied by a subtle, knowing smirk, a raised eyebrow, or any nonverbal cue that signals arrogance or contempt, you're not projecting quiet power. You're inviting attack. You're communicating, I'm above you, and I know something you don't. And while it might feel powerful in the moment, it instantly alienates. It triggers defensiveness and resentment. People will either shut down or, worse, they'll actively seek to undermine you. True Nietzschean silence, the kind that commands respect, is calm, it's curious, and in its most profound form, it's almost compassionate. It says, I don't need to prove anything to you, or to myself. It does not say, I'm above you, you pathetic fool. Hold that line, maintain that internal state of calm, non-judgmental presence, and you'll stay formidable without becoming alienating. You'll be a force, not a jerk. Group settings are a different beast altogether. They're often a chaos of competing egos, a cacophony of voices vying for airtime, attention, and influence. In this environment, silence doesn't just work, it works like a vacuum tube. It sucks the available airtime, the focus, the very energy of the room, toward whoever breaks first. And if you're the one who can hold your silence the longest, you become the gravitational center. Imagine you've just finished a presentation in a meeting. Instead of immediately asking, any questions, or launching into a summary, let the first awkward pause linger. Don't rush to fill it. Let the silence stretch, just a beat longer than comfortable. What often happens? The senior voice in the room, the one with the most perceived authority, will often jump in first. Why? Because they're uncomfortable with the void, and they feel a responsibility to lead. And when they speak, they'll often do so to endorse your presentation, to add their own insights, effectively giving you borrowed credibility and validating your work. You've just gotten a powerful ally, without saying a word. Now, consider a more challenging scenario, you're attacked publicly in a group setting. Someone challenges your idea, your authority, or even your character. Your instinct is to defend, to explain, to fight back. But remember the reflective silence. Here, we add a twist for group dynamics. Instead of a lengthy defense, ask a single, clarifying question. Something like, "Are you saying X?" or, "Could you elaborate on that point, Y?" And then, immediately, go quiet. The attacker now faces two unattractive paths. They can double down on their attack, but because you've asked for clarification, they'll likely sound extreme, irrational, or overly aggressive to the rest of the group. Or, they can backpedal, soften their stance, or even retract their statement, thereby losing steam and credibility. Either way, you, the one who asked the calm, clarifying question and then held your silence, remain the reasonable one, the composed one, the one who doesn't need to engage in a lengthy, messy defense. You've used their own words and the power of your silence to turn their attack back on them. Here's another powerful tactic for group dynamics: selective absence. This one requires a bit more boldness. Miss a routine call, a non-critical meeting, or a regular check-in, without explanation. Not in an irresponsible way, but strategically. Your absence, especially if you're typically present, becomes a conversational black hole. People notice. They wonder. They talk about it. When you return, observe how people recap everything faster, eager to bring you up to speed. They're not just informing you, they're trying to fill the void you created, to re-establish the connection. Your absence has subtly elevated your perceived importance. You've demonstrated that you are not always available, that your time and presence are valuable commodities. This is dominance through void. It's not about being a ghost, it's about making your presence, and therefore your absence, count. It's a powerful way to subtly reset the group's perception of your influence and importance. Theory is one thing, but results are another. Let's see how this plays out with quick stories from the real world. Case 1, Salary Negotiation, Maria's Quiet Win. Maria gets a job offer, $72,000. It's good, but she knows her worth. Instead of arguing, she smiles, thanks the recruiter, and goes quiet. The silence stretches. The recruiter fidgets, then cracks. For the right candidate, we can do $78,000. Maria calmly repeats the new number, 78,000, and pauses again. The recruiter blurts out, "Look, we can do $82,000 in remote Fridays if you can start soon." Maria accepts. A $10,000 raise from two strategic silences. Case 2, Heated Argument, Leo's Shift to Intimacy. Leo and his partner are in a fight. Accusations fly. His partner says he never listens. The old Leo would have argued. This time, he puts his phone down, takes a deep breath, and just listens. His partner, expecting a defense, falters. The anger in her voice cracks, replaced by tears. "I'm scared we're drifting apart." His silence didn't win an argument, it saved the connection. Case 3, Public Defense, Maya's Elegant Victory. During her thesis defense, an aggressive professor attacks Maya's work. Her heart pounds. Instead of a frantic rebuttal, she takes a slow sip of water, looks at him, and says, "That's an interesting point." Then, nothing. The professor, left hanging in the silence, tries to elaborate but ends up exposing the flaws in his own critique. Maya passed with honors by letting her opponent defeat himself. Case 4, The Idea Thief, David's Strategic Pause. In a meeting, a colleague hijacks David's idea, presenting it as her own. Instead of fighting for credit, David just leans back and waits. The team notices his unusual quiet. After she finishes, the team lead turns to him and asks, "David, what were you going to add to your original idea?" His silence exposed the theft and reclaimed his credit without a word of confrontation. Mastering silence isn't just about technique, it's an internal recalibration. Without these core mindset shifts, silence feels forced. With them, it becomes your most potent default. First, shift from performance to curiosity. Most of us are performers, constantly asking, how am I being seen? It's exhausting and disempowering. Instead, become a detective. Ask, what is this person really saying? What are their hidden fears and desires? When you get genuinely curious, your focus moves outward. You stop being a nervous actor and become a calm observer, gathering invaluable data that others leak in your presence. Second, shift from fairness to outcome. The ego screams for fairness. It wants to be right, to be understood, to win the moral victory. But your ego wants a fleeting feeling, your future wants a tangible result. Silence is a pragmatic trade. You let go of the need to correct every little thing and win every verbal battle. You let them feel right while you quietly achieve your actual objective. The person who prioritizes outcome over ego is the one who truly wins. Finally, embed these shifts. Each night, ask yourself, where did I speak from reflex when silence would have been stronger? And where did I choose silence, even when it was uncomfortable? Within a month, talking will feel like a deliberate choice, not a nervous habit. You'll become the conductor of your interactions, not just an instrument in someone else's symphony. Now, let's be realistic. Silence isn't a silver bullet. Knowing when it fails is as important as knowing when it works. Here's how to troubleshoot the most common problems. 1. When your pause gets ignored. You hold your silence, but the conversation steamrolls right over you. This often happens in chaotic, fast-paced groups. Don't get flustered. Reset. A slight lean forward, a direct gaze at the key person, these micro-gestures recapture attention. You're non-verbally saying, my turn. Then, redeploy your silence. You're not just waiting, you're commanding the moment. 2. When you're called passive-aggressive. Someone uncomfortable with your newfound quiet accuses you of being hostile. Your silence is now a liability. The fix? A simple, neutral truth. I'm just processing that, or I'm thinking it over. This isn't an apology, it's a clarification. It reframes your silence as thoughtfulness, not hostility, instantly disarming the accusation and letting you reclaim your power. 3. When crisis demands clarity. Strategic silence is for power plays, not emergencies. When the fire alarm blares or someone needs a medic, silence is dangerous. This is when you must be loud, clear, and direct. Call 911. Everyone, out. True intelligence is knowing when to drop the tool. In a crisis, your goal is survival, not strategic advantage. 4. When you're in a different culture. Communication isn't one-size-fits-all. In cultures that value constant, warm chatter, extended silence can read as cold or disrespectful. The goal is to be effective, not dogmatic. Read the room. Adapt your ratio. Deploy micropauses for impact instead of long, drawn-out silences. The aim is to be magnetic, not an alien. Adjust your tactics to the terrain. Think of words as coins. Each time you speak, you spend a little bit of your currency. Spend enough, and you go broke. You dilute your impact, you reveal your hand, you surrender your leverage. But silence? Silence is compound interest. The less you touch it, the more you cultivate it, the bigger it grows in power, in weight, in influence. So, start small. Don't try to become a silent monk overnight. Just one breath before your next answer. One deliberate pause before you react. Feel the room tilt, just a little. Feel the subtle shift in power. Keep practicing. Keep experimenting. Keep observing. Until your quiet is no longer perceived as emptiness, but as mass. An overwhelming, undeniable presence that unsettles the noisy, disarms the aggressive, and grants you the ultimate control over yourself, and thereby, profound influence over the world around you. Remember, you don't need to win the argument. You don't need to have the last word. You don't need to convince anyone. You need to win the moment that comes after the argument, after the interaction, after the challenge. The moment when people glance at you first, to see how you feel, to gauge your reaction, to understand how they should feel. That's when you know you've truly mastered the quiet war. Stay silent, stay solid, and let the world make the first move.